When in God's name will we do what needs to be done to, if not completely stop, fundamentally change the amount of the carnage that goes on in this country? Second Amendment is not absolute.
The president speaking again today, as he did last night, about doing something to increase public safety, which is the government's first obligation. Now, in our coverage last night, we began with the facts and the unfolding massacre, and then we turned to the facts around policy. So, again, we do tonight. We began with people on the ground. We began with the latest facts and the updates. Now we turn to the policy, because if this were domestic attacks from foreign invaders or foreign terrorism, you can bet on day 1, 2, and 3, people would be saying, how do you stop the next one? Do you let these people into the country? How did they get the weapons? If somebody flies a plane into a building and kills Americans, you want to say, should it be easy or hard to hijack a plane? This is standard stuff. So don't let anyone trick you or fool you about the idea that if you want to engage as a citizen, as a voter, on how to keep each other safe or keep children safe, that that's somehow the wrong response. Enough of that. So let's get into the facts, as there are new calls for action right now. Remember, under Democratic leadership in the most recent election, this current House has already passed 2 gun safety bills. We reported on them, and to refresh your memory, they passed last year. They would do something that has broad public support, which is deal first with who gets guns, expanding and strengthening background checks. They do not in any way restrict your right to own a gun. They don't make it very hard to get one, but they would try to strengthen the background checks. And what's interesting about this is the House, which passed this, has the mandate of the majority of the public. The House is the part of the Congress that has majority support because each district represents roughly the same number of people. Then they send it over to the Senate. Now, that's a part of Congress where it's not majority rule, not in the rules, and not, remember, in how senators are picked, because it's not according to the number of people, it's according to states. And that's where these new bills backed by the public from the most recent election were stopped, blocked by a minority of Republican senators under Minority Leader McConnell. And they represent a minority of Americans. The bills, well, they haven't gotten an up or down vote. And again, to be crystal clear, I'm not talking about whether everyone in the Senate supports them or not. I'm just talking about whether it reaches the floor. That minority group of Republicans in the Senate are using tactics, an obstruction filibuster, so there can't be a floor vote. The person in charge of the Senate, Chuck Schumer, today saying this.
There are some who want this body to quickly vote on sensible gun safety legislation. I'm sympathetic to that. And I believe that accountability votes are important. But sadly, this isn't a case of the American people not knowing where their senators stand. They know. They know because my Republican colleagues are perfectly clear on this issue, crystal clear.
That, by the way, is Chuck Schumer's version of being outraged. This is the second deadliest school shooting in American history now this week. The most deadly was Sandy Hook in 2013, where Republicans also did the same thing. Something passed the House, so it had the public's majority support. There was a president in the White House, again, reflecting a majority vote by the public, and the minority stopped this. Now, Ron Brownstein, who's a nonpartisan political analyst, noted that basically the senators voting for the background check bill represent 194 million people. Those opponents, using these obstruction tools I'm telling you about, a meager 118 million. Most people already supported the expanded background checks, and now, as this explodes across our life and culture, even more people are concerned about acting. The Senate is being held hostage by minority rule. And remember, the result is kids in more danger. And we live in a society where kids don't get to vote. Those kids in Texas don't have a vote on this, on what we, the adults and parents of society, do. They don't get to elect their members of Congress. The first graders at Sandy Hook didn't either. These are school children we're talking about. If we, as a society, if our lawmakers can't protect them, if we can't make it so that the majority rules on matters of public safety involving children, who will?
When are we going to do something? I'm tired. I'm so tired of getting up here and offering condolences to the devastated families that are out there. I'm so tired of I'm tired of the moments of silence. Enough. Right now, who refuse to vote on H.R. 8, which is a background check rule that the House passed a couple of years ago. It's been sitting there for 2 years. And there's a reason they won't vote on it, to hold on to power.
We mentioned Sandy Hook, and now we turn to Marianne Jacob, a library clerk at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut, who survived a 2012 school shooting there. She barricaded herself and a class of 18 students and barricaded a door. I'm sorry you have to do this, but we are trying to talk to people who've been through some of this, so I appreciate you joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Your reaction to what we just walked through?
It's no surprise. We've been watching it for the last 10 years unfold the same way over and over again. So, my reaction is sort of the continued disgust of someone who doesn't think our elected leaders are acting on the behalf of the people they represent. But, in addition to that, I think all of us are just as accountable because we're not holding them accountable. Every single person today in our country is outraged by what happened, but 99% of them are just, what I would call slacktivists, sitting back and, just being outraged. And if we all don't stand up and do something, we're not going to change what's happening.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we want to kind of bridge this. So stay with me. I want to bring in someone who served as a governor and ran the Democratic Party, Howard Dean, who has some understanding of the limits of this. Governor, your response.
I think that's absolutely right. I think the Democrats particularly have got to stop the hand-wringing and demand accountability from the voters. Politicians have not done their jobs. Now, the Republicans' extremist wing, which controls the Republican Party, is very much into this and involved. But the truth is the Democrats haven't done their job either because they're afraid. I was endorsed, I think, with every race I ran in the national when I was governor by the NRA. The NRA is now bankrupt. Some of them are going to go to jail. It's a crooked organization. The Supreme Court is now in the thrall. 5 out of the 9 members are in the thrall of the right wing or the extremist wing of the Republican Party, which is in the ascendancy. The only people that can stop this are voters. So I've had enough of my thoughts and prayers are with you. If you want to do something about this, do something about this. But stop complaining and expecting the politicians to do anything until you make them. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and you mentioned that. I want to put up Ruben Gallego. I showed Chuck Schumer there and the sort of plaintive approach he took. Ruben Gallego's tweet is, just to be clear, F you, referring to Senator Ted Cruz in Texas, you, and people can read what he said there, and F your prayers. They haven't worked for the past 20 mass shootings about passing laws that would stop these killings. Governor.
Now what we need is a bill on the floor of the House, which is controlled by Democrats, which will eliminate ownership of assault weapons by ordinary people that are not involved in the law enforcement or the Army, and make all kinds of other regulations so that, look, I come from a pro-hunting state, and I'm pro-hunting. I think it's a good way to control wildlife population and so forth. But this is not hunting. This is hunting human beings. And these weapons are completely unnecessary. And in fact, under Bill Clinton, we did have an assault weapon ban, which then was allowed to lapse and has never been heard from since. The NRA is an impotent organization. These people are in the thrall of these right-wingers like Cruz and are in the thrall of loud people with dangerous guns that they are catering to. And the rest of the politicians need to stand up. And if they don't, we'll need to replace them. And I don't care what party they're in.